Morning all, morning. Good morning, Roxanne. Thank you for my brooms, as always. Sweeping time. Daniela Williams, morning. Margaret Thomas, morning to you. Morning, Rookman. Pauline Buckmeyer, morning. Arlene Lewis, morning, Arlene. Leon Graves, morning, sir. Annette Baird, morning, Annette. Ruth Shrewd, morning to you. Morning, Donna. Donna Walcott. Anna Sisnat, morning, Anna. All the way out there from Canada. Lennox Ramdani, morning, sir. Shalana Farrell, morning, Wazid, morning to you. Terence Cummings, morning, sir. Alberta Sampath, morning. Renwick Roberts, good morning. Ruben Rogers, morning to you, sir. Claudius Alexander, morning. Marva James, morning to you. Istra Blake, morning, Istra. Gloria Lydia Lazare Green, morning. Marva James, Deanne Charles, morning to you as well. Sarah Richards, Alicia Almonde Rocher, morning. Cyril Mayas, morning, sir. Deborah Duranti, Neil Francois, always present. I trust that you enjoyed your birthday celebration, sir. Larry Macmillan, morning. Anand 001, morning. Anthony Joseph, morning. Kenneth Gabriel. Deborah Duranti, morning, guys. Pamela O'Connor. Jennifer Ferron, Carol Boyce, John 123, Roland Nelson. PF Cutters, Angela Barrington, morning, guys. Dexter Tweets. Discuss, morning. Roxana going to Tobago. Tobago, it's so sweet these days, or at least not from the perspective of the THA. Leon Joseph says, lovely weather up in Toko, indeed. That sounds like a plan. Gary Joseph, morning. Linda Supreme, Patricia McKenzie, morning to you. Jennifer Ashby Okoli, morning. Apollina's, morning. Ruth Fronten, morning to you. Joyceton Small White, June Austin, Christopher Coffey, Jenny Joseph, morning to all of you guys. Claudette Jeffrey, Julie Bowen, Emmeline Harvey, Charm Rich, Gerald Pascal Manzuel, morning to all of you. See here, boys. So it's 11:10 already. How time flies. I jump off at 1 o'clock today. So let me get some water here. Rosemary Headley, morning to you. Merle Durant. Morning, Carol. Yes, on this good sunny morning. Well, we need the rain, and they say we're supposed to get some next week. Well, this week. So fingers crossed, we'll see how that goes. Minad Lasari, morning, sir. Right, so many things to talk about. So I saw that news source is supposed to be back on this evening. I believe at 7 o'clock. That's Rhoda Barath will be resuming her podcast. So something to look forward to. Yeah, it's interesting. You take it in. She's been off for a while, went on a sabbatical. Now that she's sorted out those issues with Mr. Griffith, I think she is ready to come back on. So for those of you who are listeners and fans of News Source, Rhoda Barath, join her, I think it's this evening I saw. Yeah, Philomena Green, Deborah Edgehill, Donna Seeley. Morning, Donna. Jennifer Dossett, Sarah Richards, and also her name pop up there, Donna. Claire Irish, Joel Braffett. Morning to you guys. Marilyn Gale Pear Crawford. Morning, Judy Bowen. Marcia Collins, Angela Carty. Morning. Rutrude. Morning to all of you guys. Glennis Phillips. Ashlyn Robertson. Morning. Right, so there was a press conference last Friday, was it? With the heads of the various national security arms. And the head of the Coast Guard made a revelation, which of course was music to the ears of the opposition forces. Coast Guard to get new assets as repairs continue. The Ministry of National Security has rallied the various arms of law enforcement in the continued fight against crime, which has resulted in greater efforts to improve maritime security. I saw the bald-headed clown, Ina Roberts, he decided to do a live, his doubles and coffee on this, right? So as I said, they love bad news. but I wouldn't consider this so much to be bad news. Acknowledging the TNT Coast Guard had encountered challenges with its naval fleet, Chief of Defense Staff Air Vice Marshal Daryl Daniel yesterday confirmed approval has been received and is being actioned for the immediate repair of some of our smaller vessels and the acquisition of immediately available vessels of appropriate size and functionality for use by the Coast Guard. Speaking during a media briefing at the Ministry of National Security, Daniel said this was being done even as the current maintenance contracts, which have been signed to refit the larger capital assets, are ongoing. He added that the intention is to have these assets back in service within 18 months on a phased basis. Daniel assured that following this period, the 8 larger vessels belonging to the TTCG will be once again operational. So that's 8 large vessels, right? Meanwhile, he said the process has also commenced for additional new naval assets to address the identified gaps in the maritime domain awareness and control. Preempting questions about the timeline of the acquisition of new assets and the refurbishment and refitting of existing assets, Daniel said global shipping challenges had to be considered as items were not being shipped on a timely basis. He said this continues to impact the acquisition of the arrival of parts and spares to get our vessels back serviceable. Despite this, he assured the TTCG was ready to work alongside other arms of law enforcement in the fight against crime. Well, of course, the fully dunce came out in their numbers in the comments, right? One who goes by the name of CY Mirage. If only people did really know the truth about what is going on in this country, yes, but I know for a fact people will go down die hard. It's not true, and this country more effed up than what we really see here. Neil or Niall Rampasad. Repairs continuing since 2018 when the vessel started going down. Clearly, the service lacks the personnel necessary for maintenance and repair of such vessels. UTT has an abundance of well-qualified and trained engineers graduating yearly, looking for work. Take some of them on. Didn't the Defense Force get $100 million to help the youths in hotspots? Can someone enlighten we, the forgetful citizens? I don't see what that has to do with that, but anyway. Another one says there are local boat builders that can facilitate very capable smaller inshore vessels, and there are more than enough vessels docked in Coast Guard headquarters to set up a proper perimeter around Trinidad and Tobago. These things are just obvious necessities, and I want to blame government and so on. But let me just remind these folks, right, because some of them were questioning the veracity of the claim that there are challenges with respect to the importation of the parts, which is not the function of the Coast Guard. So let me just remind them and read this. Article dated October 19, 2023. Hostal opens new maintenance facility supporting the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. And this is off the website of Hostal. Hostal is pleased to announce the opening of a new dedicated maintenance facility at the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard based in Hartscott, Chaguaramas on the island of Trinidad. The new maintenance facility was officially opened by the Trinidad and Tobago Minister of National Security, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, accompanied by Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Takia Tiva Dilchan, Chief of Defense Staff, Air Vice Marshal Daryl Daniel, and they give the list goes on. The new maintenance facility, constructed and operated by Hostal under an in-service support agreement signed by the Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago in April 2022, enhances the local team's capability to provide ongoing support to the Coast Guard's Cape-class patrol vessels constructed by Hostal in Australia and delivered in 2021. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Hostal Australia Chief Operating Officer Ian McMillan said Hostal was absolutely committed to delivering quality service in the region and is excited about the growth potential in the Caribbean. The state-of-the-art facility, built by Hostal under the Cape-class patrol vessel support contract, will include best practice warehouse and inventory management systems that will support vessel maintenance for many years to come. He said, I am incredibly proud of the Hostal team's achievements in establishing this new facility and the collaborative working relationship we have with Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard and the Government of Trinidad and Tobago. We look forward to supporting the Cape-class patrol vessels currently in service and any future platforms that may further enhance Trinidad and Tobago's maritime security. Hostal has delivered a total of 13 vessels to the Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, including 6 30-meter fast patrol craft and 4 41-meter passenger express catamaran ferries delivered in 2010, 2 Cape-class patrol vessels, and a 94-meter auto express catamaran ferry APT James delivered in 2021. Hostel local team comprises 3 expert Australians, 5 Trinidad and Tobago maritime technicians and support personnel. Right? So they have a base in Trinidad to provide maintenance support for the vessels. So clearly, if there are issues with the vessels and the vessels are down and they're telling us, well, look, one of the challenges that they face is supply side issues, getting parts to Trinidad and so on, then it's not the Coast Guard telling you nothing. It's hostile. They're here. They have a base here. So to the fully dunce who want to come and tell you, oh, the government lying and they have money to spend on this and money to spend on that and they're abandoning the Coast Guard. Look hostile there. If you don't believe, jump in your car, drive down to Hartscott and tell them you want to come and speak to the whoever is in charge of hostiles facility there and ask them so they could tell you. Right? So I just thought I would make mention of that because when I read some of the comments are the fully dunce. Yeah. Every little thing like that. They want to tell you, hey, the country in a mess, nothing working, and that is government, everything failing. Right. Meanwhile, over in Tobago, some bacchanal, Fali vows political war against the PNM. My executive is being targeted. A political storm is brewing in Tobago after Chief Secretary Fali Augustine yesterday accused the People's National Movement of using state agencies to target his team. The comment came in the wake of a raid on the home of the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development Secretary Trevor James on Thursday. With elections on the horizon, Augustine is now warning Tobagonians to brace for escalating tensions. Speaking during a media conference with James at the Shore Park Cultural Complex yesterday, Augustine said, I am really baffled as to why this heavy-handed operation, save and except it has the DNA and the fingerprint of the PNM all over it. However, Augustine said his team won't back down from what's unfolding. I'm expecting in the coming weeks and months as the country moves towards a general election, it will get worse. I expect sleepless nights. Why are you expecting sleepless nights? If you have nothing to hide and no cocoa in the sun, sleep comfortably. The police could come and knock your door and do what they want, but you have nothing to hide, nothing to get because you have nothing there. Not so Fali. But he's saying he expects sleepless nights. He accused the police and licensing officers of using extreme force against James while executing a warrant in an investigation of James's vehicle inspection sticker. Augustine said he's certain the PNM is launching another witch hunt against his executive. Then it moved to Audiogate, and then it moved to another, and then this. When will this stop? The rest of the team is prepared to fight this matter to the very end and ensure it comes to a resolution quickly. We don't intend to allow it to fall by the wayside. However, the PNM's Tobago Council leader, Ansel Dennis, condemned Augustine for turning a police investigation into a political battleground for a third time. Speaking to Guardian Media, Dennis said that the police, as they have done with other politicians in the past, including former PNM officials, have not hesitated to charge, execute warrants, and prosecute persons. And he said Tobagonians should focus on the ongoing attention this executive has been receiving from law enforcement. No one is above the law in this country, and their usual strategy is to blame the PNM and link any action against them to political victimization, which is absolutely ridiculous. Of course, their supporters are buying into that narrative. That is Dr. Rowley and the Minister of National Security and by extension the government that sent the police and sent licensing officers to Mr. James's home to conduct a raid. Now, we know in the past we've heard things with respect to Mr. James. I'm not casting any aspersions, but even their former political leader, Watson Duke, in the early days of their breakup, would have made certain allegations which may or may not have gotten the attention of the police. We know that Mr. James has made some interesting financial transactions in the not too distant past. We know the leasing of the private jet to come back to Tobago, in which what we read was that there were other passengers on the flight as well. So some people were dropped off in Tobago, some people were dropped off in Trinidad. And the expectation was that the THA would have paid for that. And when the S hit the fan and people found, and it became public Then we heard Fali making a declaration that the THA is not going to be paying for that and so on. And we hear that it costs between 6,000 to 9,000 US and that Trevor James will be footing that bill. Interestingly, after that, we heard nothing further. So we don't know if in fact the THA paid for that or not. We don't know what the outcome of that was because the media found they weren't interested in pursuing that anymore. So they published the initial story. But when it first broke and we listened to what Fali Augustine said, there were some inconsistencies in his story. Because first of all, when the media asked him when did he find out about Mr. James's situation, I can't remember which island they were in. He said he found out just as everybody else on the evening news. But then in an interview with the Newsday, he indicated that he had had a conversation earlier on the day before the evening news with Mr. James, and he inquired as to what their situation was and how they were getting back to Tobago. And Mr. James indicated to him that it had already been taken care of. To which Fali asked him, so this company, is it, do they do business with the THA? Let me get it here, right? Let me read from it. Give me 1 second, let me find it. So get it here. Right, Tuesday the 24th of October 2023, almost a year ago. Chief Sec THA will not pay for private aircraft. THA Chief Secretary Fali Augustine says he has no qualms about using his veto power to reject any request for reimbursement of the money an executive council member spent on chartering a private aircraft for Martinique on Sunday. This follows a newspaper report that Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development, Trevor James, had chartered a private plane to return from Martinique as Tropical Storm Tammy approached that island. The cost was reported to have been between US $5,000 and $9,000. James was quoted as saying that he paid for the flight in a private arrangement. He was accompanied by another THA official and Association of Caribbean States employees. And the group had attended a connectivity conference of the Greater Caribbean, which ran from October 18th to the 20th. Augustine was asked about the issue on Tuesday after delivering the feature address at the handing over ceremony at the Show Park Cultural Complex. He said the THA did not spend any money on the trip, as it was a last-minute invitation. There was no spend from the division up to this day for the trip, because it came as a last-minute invitation, and so they had to foot their own bill there in hopes of an executive council agreeing to refund that. Right? So he said up to that time, so Trevor get his invitation last minute, and he said, yeah, I want to go to Martinique. Well, yeah, book them flights there. Yeah, ask nobody, no permission, no question. He called Fali, yeah, but we get invitation, and I going across and carrying so on. So, yeah, make the arrangements now. Now, if it is he's going there supposedly on official business to represent the THA and so on. So he's not going to spend his own money unless he has a genuine belief that whatever he spends will be reimbursed, because he's not going there for leisure, for his private business. He's not going to cook up in a hotel over there and enjoy the beach. He going there for official business to attend a conference to benefit the THA. So there is a reasonable expectation that any money that he spends would be reimbursed if it was too short notice to get approval from the executive. Augustine also said that the THA did not engage any private chartered plane. The THA has not paid any private charter. The THA will not be paying any private charter. And the THA will not be engaging any such private charter. That is very clear. Right? So he said. But in another article, as I've told you all before, there were conflicting stories from Fali as to when he found out. Because one you say you find out in the evening news, and then the other one you say you talk to Trevor earlier on in the day, and he tell you, well, arrangements have already been made, charter thing, whatever. You ask him, so who is the provider? Is it somebody who does business with the THA? He tell you no, and you were cool with it. But you see, these little things the media don't pick up on, right? And Fali has been constantly defending Trevor James. Constantly. You have the other one, Ian Pollard, who the other day, there's some issues with respect to hiring practices in his division, right, which goes against government policy, which could cause some problems there too. But every time they get into a little trouble, is always the PNM. When David Lee was arrested and charged for the incident involving the vehicle that he purchased, the G-Wagon, that was costing over $2 million, and he would have gotten a significant refund or significant rebate or discount as a result of the perks offered to members of parliament, where they don't pay VAT and they don't pay motor vehicle taxes or any other duties associated with the purchase of a vehicle. And then, of course, we would have read that the vehicle is in the possession of somebody else and that person has been driving the vehicle, while Mr. Lee has another Mercedes, one of the white GLC models, which he uses. Based on those allegations, the police would have conducted surveillance over a period of time to note that Mr. Lee was not using the vehicle, despite the fact that he would have purchased the vehicle and would have availed himself of the tax deductions or the tax exemptions, I should say. But somebody else was driving the vehicle. These exemptions are provided to members of parliament in recognition of the fact that as an MP, you have work to do for your constituents. And therefore, it would require you to be driving all over your constituency. And there is wear and tear on the vehicle to do your work as a member of parliament. And so you're entitled to that benefit. If it is that you're a minister, yes, you're entitled to use the ministry's vehicles for official business, government business, but there will be certain things that you would be required to attend where you would use your personal vehicle. And in so doing, you get that perk as determined by the Salaries Review Commission, right? But when David Lee got charged for that, the first thing he said when he walked out the office of the FIB, PNM at its best again. Yeah, is the PNM do that? But Mr. Lee needs to remind the fully dons that how that matter came into the public domain was because of attempts by the UNC to be nasty. I remember when in 2020, they were publishing all the government ministers who purchase vehicles and the document stating the exemptions, what vehicle they buy and how much exemptions they got. And that is what. And so PNM operatives decided, well, okay, two could play at that game. And that is how Mr. Lee got caught in that. But is the PNM responsible for that? Right? Every time. So they're telling you now, general election is on the horizon. And as people getting charged, police investigations are coming to a head. And it is being made public. So just as the other day, with the 34 million, where the ACP Simon indicated that, that is a deep ring of corruption was involved in that live sport. Fully dons, they're always complaining about how politicians dishonest and politicians like to thief. But when it is you see opportunity presents itself for the politicians to be held to account, and it's their side that is being accused, is the PNM, is our witch hunt. Elections come in, and you will hear the leader of the opposition saying that, because today or tomorrow you hear the police charging people in respect of live sport. You will hear she will come out and say, is the PNM, is elections, that's what they always do, and she will tell us about Sadiq Bach, and when the cocaine was found in his tank, she will tell us about Pandey and Ish and Steve and all of that, which she deemed to be a 23-year PNM propaganda ploy, that there was no there was no wrongdoing in the Piarco airport matter, right? The person who is putting herself or positioning herself to be the prime minister. She's the prime minister in waiting. That's what they call her now. It's telling you and me that there was absolutely no bubble and no corruption in the Piarco airport scandal, despite all of the evidence that we have seen. Despite the fact that a US court, free from local passions, have no horse in the race, them couldn't care about UNC, PNM, PEP, PDP, TPP, nobody. The judge across there, he couldn't care about none of that. He don't know none of these people, so he's neither here nor there with him. And he made a judgment based on the evidence that was presented. And he was satisfied that corruption took place. He was satisfied that corruption took place to the point where he would have awarded the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago a $1 billion compensation for that theft. In addition to what we already got back from the first set of people who already served time in jail and who were made to pay restitution to Trinidad and Tobago to the tune of millions of dollars. This judge still found that we should get an additional $1 billion based on the evidence that he saw that showed and pointed to corruption. But Prasad Bisasa will tell you that was PNM. All of that is a PNM ploy, PNM propaganda. But they have plenty to say about Dr. Rowley, right? And this is somebody you could trust to be your prime minister, who will look at wrongdoing in its face and then come and tell you, no, that didn't happen. Room 201, what she said? No, that was PNM voodoo. I spoke to the minister and he provided me with a report, and I am satisfied that that was PNM Photoshop and PNM voodoo. That was not Minister Roberts in that room 201. The voice you heard that you think was his is not his. The face that you saw, that wasn't his. No, that is just excellent Photoshop work by the PNM. You could make a movie, but put her back as prime minister. And so it seems now that the police have to take a hands-off approach. So for the next year, even if they are ready to charge anybody or to interrogate anybody with respect to wrongdoing that happened between 2010 to 2015, they mustn't do that because it would be perceived as the government put them up to that. So hold all your hand until after the election. Yeah, hold all your hand. Same thing with, like we see what is happening now in the US, where the judge was supposed to sentence Trump, I think, later on this month. And he has decided that he will defer it until November 26th, lest there be the perception that he would have done his job to influence the outcome of the general election. Right? So that is what we have to. But understand, these upholders of wrongdoing. The other day, when it is that they had investigation into Foster Cummins, I wasn't hearing Farley and them, I wasn't hearing Prasad Bisesa and them saying that is a witch hunt. No, that wasn't witch hunt. When it is that PNM persons are the subject of the police investigations, it's legit. We're supporting the police doing their work. But when it's the other way around, is the PNM doing that? Ula wearing Balize bloomers. Right? Some of these investigations started under them. The investigation into life sport started under Kamala Prasad Bisesa. She called for an investigation in the parliament. So now that after 10 years, we're finally seeing some headway, is PNM. PNM propaganda. They're looking to lock up people and charge people before the election to make it look like if the UNC corrupt. Well, it can't be serious. Cannot be serious. But that is what they have on offer, right? So now Farley wants to wage war on the PNM. And understand, we have a general election coming up and they have interest in the 2 seats in Tobago. And they don't really have much to show, right? They don't have much that they could point to tell the people of Tobago, look, over the last 3 years, we have done this much for you all, and we deserve to move from THA to the parliament. What could they point to? Right now, they have a headache in Tobago, well, several headaches. First of all, the vendors that they recently, whose spots they demolished, the people's tents and the huts and so on in Pigeon Point. Now they're talking about doing some renovation works in Store Bay, and there's a facility there that they want, that there is talk that is going to be demolished and so on, and the vendors will be displaced. The vendors are quite displeased because they're saying that is not what they voted for. Now you have the fisher folk in Tobago are calling for Farley to go because they're saying up to now they have not been compensated for the work that they did with respect to the oil spill, but that Trinidadian contractors were compensated, and the Tobago fisher folk, who played a significant role, some of whom were impacted directly in terms of their business and their ability to fish, others who would have come forward and done work to assist in the cleanup, are saying that they are yet to be compensated, despite the fact that the THA received some $50 million from central government. And so now they're saying, they realize like, Farley must go. So they're now going to use this to say, see, forget that. Now you have Trevor James talking nonsense about there needs to be a change in the arrangement between Trinidad and Tobago. We know what that means. It was started by Watson Duke. And what was the interesting thing? Watson Duke was the man who was pushing this whole separatist agenda that you must secede from Trinidad and Tobago. Remember when he said, you see, we want prime minister and we don't want no THA chief secretary stupidness. His words. We don't want no THA chief secretary stupidness. We want prime minister and so on. He was pushing that hard. Now he has stepped back. He has toned down on that because he has aspirations for leadership in Trinidad. But Farley has continued. He never put down the mantle. The torch was passed to Farley and he has taken off with it in ways unimaginable. Farley has now become worse than Watson Duke in that respect. And he has the support of his THA executive, whose political life depending on him. Because if he decides he don't want them back, come next THA election, that's it for them. And it's the same thing in Trinidad with Kamala Prasad Bisesa. All of them who supported her and propping her up, despite the fact that you have growing factions in the party who are saying Kamala must go, Kamala must go. We say Kamala must stay, right? She must stay. We want her to stay. But those in her party who want her to go and who say that the party cannot win an election if she is the leader, those who are supporting her, look who it is. Those who owe their political life to her. And while you have one or two dissidents who have stood up, who she would have brought in, but nevertheless, they realize the party ain't going away with her. And even without her, the party not going anywhere. Because when you look at who they have on offer to replace her, Rudal Munilal, really, at one point in time, she anointed him to be her successor. Really? You could see Rudal Munilal as being Prime Minister of this country. Who else did have? Julian John. They're always talking about, oh, the PNM is a black man party and the PNM this and that. Stuart Young is acting Prime Minister. They have an issue with that. And that is a slap in the face for persons of African descent. And how come no leaders never let no African act as Prime Minister? So what about this one and what about that one? And you see, he put Stuart Young to act and he used to have Corbyn acting, and that is to please the 1% and the 1% and the 1%. And Rowley in the 1% back pocket. The PNM is a ethnically diverse party. We are a cosmopolitan party. You understand? And if it is that the membership of the party don't have an issue with Stuart Young acting, why is it that people outside of the party have a problem with that? And trying to gaslight the persons of African descent who support the party to tell them, well, it's a African party, look, Rowley not acting like that. Because why? When you look at the composition of the cabinet ministers, or Rowley only given all them cabinet ministers, the best cabinet posts and the best ministries to non-Africans. And that is taking root in the minds of some people, the soft-heads as I call them. Right? The PNM has always been the most diverse party when we're looking from an ethnic standpoint. And the majority of people who support the PNM have no issue with that. We don't care. If it is all they want to go down that road, at the end of the day, Dr. Rowley is the Prime Minister. He is the Prime Minister. Of what race was George Chambers? What race was George Chambers? I would ask them that. Did you say that George Chambers was African and the PNM supported him? If you look at Dr. Eric Williams, you will see Dr. Williams was of mixed race. Can the UNC make a similar claim? The two leaders that they have had. Well, if you want to say the three leaders, because you had Pandey, and then at one time, Dukaran was supposed to replace Pandey, and we know how that went. And then you had Kamla Prasad Bisesa. But can they make that claim? Because we can certainly say that the three leaders that the UNC ever had were all of one specific race. That the PNM could say differently. There is evidence to show that. But they keep going on that road and accusing the PNM of blowing the racial dog whistle. And how the PNM supporters is only vote on race and vote on race. Really? We don't vote, PNM people don't vote on issues. So when it is that PNM persons go to the poll and they say, let me see, should I choose between, so I go to vote in a particular constituency, one of the Couvers, and let me see who are the two main contenders. Should I vote for the man who is accused of being involved in human trafficking and prostitution? A man who is accused of having engaged in wrongdoing when he was serving on certain boards under the last UNC administration. Should I choose him to be my member of parliament, or should I choose somebody who is clean? Okay. I go into one of the other seats, one of the Caroni seats. Should I vote for this man who was fired from not one but two public utilities companies for gross misbehavior and gross misconduct? And there is an article that points to that and gives details as to the wrongdoing that he would have committed at least at one of these entities? Or should I vote for somebody clean? Let me see, boy. Let me go down to Naparima, not Naparima, Princestown. Should I vote for the man who's under police investigation for trying to hide potentially ill-gotten gains in his mother's bank account, in his mother's life insurance policies? A man who, while he was toting purse, was getting $1 million contracts for a company that he and his mother opened in 2011. They had no experience prior to that. Mommy never even run a shop, never even run a parlor, probably never even run chickens. But all of a sudden, she running a business that getting $1 million contracts and beating out companies that have been years in the business and would have bid lower. But yet still, they bid the highest and getting the contracts. And you can't tell me why it is a company that had 40, 50 years experience and bid for the same bloody contract, bid less. This new company with no experience was able to beat them out. And this man's only claim to fame is that he carrying the Prime Minister's purse. Deposited $135,000 in the Prime Minister's account, and he can't remember what the money was for. But she, who is more than twice his age, her memory is so strong that she can remember. Should I vote for him or vote for somebody clean? Those are the options. Yeah, but it's race. It's race. So when it is that in those circumstances, Both the UNC and the PNM's candidates are of East Indian descent. What's the excuse then? And then I vote for the PNM candidate. I vote for race, then? Yeah, I vote for race. Which race? Which race did I vote for? Because if both of them have the same race. You tell me you voted based on the race of the Prime Minister. Right. Well, if Dr. Rowley is embracing all races, and therefore that is the pool from which the party will have to choose for future leadership of the party, so be it. Right? So this nonsense about the 1% and the 1%, and I keep saying, this PNM administration, and that is another dotish talk that they have in Tobago too, trying to gaslight people that say, but I saw they post something on the TPP Facebook page this morning. Nonsense about the PNM only for the last 9 years have only been, they only care about the 1% and given. Inshan Ishmael like to talk that nonsense. Philip Alexander likes to talk that nonsense. And I will ask them, the people who we consider to be 1%, right? How do they get money from the government? They're not paving road because the majority of contractors who paving roads are of East Indian descent. Right? So they ain't paving. I don't know of any 1%, any Syrian Lebanese contractor who paving road. And the most amount of money to be made from the state is by paving roads. So they ain't paving no road. What else are they getting contracts from the government from? They ain't building no school. Again, the same thing. Most of the contractors who are building the schools and most of the infrastructure is either, if it's not the Chinese contractors, most of them, again, the East Indian contractors. You have one or two, like NH International. And the other day, when it is the government wanted to give a contract to the Chinese, the same 1% kick off us. It's ably supported by the UNC, right? Ably supported by. But they want to tell you, yes, this government only care about the 1%. And I keep saying, if you want to debunk that foolishness, you just take a drive around Port of Spain and you will see. Start from the bottom of Abercrombie Street and Independence Square and go up. That blue glass building I always talk about, that for years was used, utilized, occupied by customs and excise. That building that belongs to Issa Nicholas. Today, that building is empty and has been empty for the last 8 years. For the last 8 years, it has had a sign on the front door, space for rent, empty. But between 2010 to 2015, Mr. Nicholas was receiving his rent every month. He was receiving his rent of how much? About hundreds or thousands of dollars every month, right? Meanwhile, the building that Customs now occupies on Ajax Street, that was built by the Manning administration and outfitted and operationalized by this Keith Rowley administration, that building was right there, sitting there, empty, right? The only thing occupied that was occupying it between 2010 to 2015 was breeze. But it was sitting right there, just waiting to be outfitted. It was complete. Construction was complete. All that was required was outfitting. They didn't do that. They didn't do what Keith Rowley said, and you know what? Let me take some money out of the pockets of the 1%. Let me move Customs out of that building where we pay rent and put them into this building which we own, for which we pay no rent. Keith Rowley did that. Kamla Prasad-Bissessar didn't do that, and the building was right there. The building that now houses the Ministry of Education, it was right there too. Between 2010 to 2015, it was standing tall. All it needed to do was to be outfitted. Instead, they continued to rent offices all around Port of Spain and elsewhere to house different departments of the Ministry of Education. Paying rent to whom? The same 1% that they want to tell you Keith Rowley in the back pocket of and only doing things for the 1%. Same ones. The building was right there. The building that is now occupied by the Ministry of Office of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs. It was right there between 2010 to 2015. Again, waiting to be outfitted. That is all. It was right there. But they continued. Again, the same thing as I keep saying. They were renting a building down on South Key. The building has since been demolished to house the Ministry of Legal Affairs because they decided to split the ministry. So whereas under Keith Rowley, you have Legal Affairs and the Attorney General as one ministry. Under Prasad-Bissessar, it was two. So you're paying two ministers. So you're paying the Attorney General and the Minister of Legal Affairs. Two separate salaries, and you were renting that building, which is no longer there. Right? But it took Keith Rowley to come and put them in that building. No more rent being paid for that. The Ministry of Finance, Board of Inland Revenue, that was renting that building on Queen Street there and other places. That building on Ajax Street, where you're seeing every day when you drive down, you're seeing people line up on the step going to pay their property tax. Despite what the UNC telling them and Philip Alexander telling them, ask the tax and don't pay no property tax. See that building, that 20-something story building? It was there between 2010 to 2015. All it needed to be was outfitted. Instead, they continued to rent. From whom? The same 1%. Prasad Bisesa had the audacity to come in 2020 during the election campaign with a pink folder and say, I have here in my hand a dossier with over 150 buildings that the government is renting from the 1%. And on another night, I will tell you about these. That night never came. That night never came. You know why it never came? Because she realized if she wanted to open that can of worms, that Pandora's box, the licks that she would have gotten for it. Because she would have needed to tell us, why did you continue to rent these buildings? Why did you renew the leases on the rental of these buildings when it is that you had government campus there, which you could have outfitted and saved millions of dollars in rent for the 5 years, 3 months and 14 days that you were in office? Did media ever ask her that? No, they waited until the last few months before they were about to demit office, say they look into, they're putting out RFPs for companies to come and outfit the building so that they could occupy it. 2010, 2011, 12, 13, 14, that wasn't a priority. They didn't see the sense in that. But all of a sudden, 2015, 2-3 months before the general election, they had an epiphany. Hey, you know, it have some real good buildings there and money build. We could actually outfit it, put some ministries in there and save a few million, a couple $100 million a year in rent. They didn't do that. Who gave away the lands in Chagaramas? Who gave it away? Who gave away the Chagaramas Convention Center, which this administration took back and is now renovating and outfitting to turn it into an apprenticeship center for the youth of Trinidad and Tobago? Who did that? Who did that? It wasn't Keith Rowley that gave away the lands in Chagaramas. It wasn't Keith Rowley that gave away the mega farm to plant onions to export. And then we ended up with a restaurant and paved grounds to host carnival fetes. And it wasn't Keith Rowley that did that. In fact, Keith Rowley took back 50 acres that is now today under cultivation for the youth again. That is being used for shade houses. 20 shade houses, 4 already on the ground and in operation, and 16 more to be constructed. For the benefit of whom? The youth of Trinidad and Tobago who have an interest in agriculture. And we've already started to see benefit from that. Where youth who are inclined to agriculture but don't have land and who may not have gone through the homestead program, that they actually now have a space where they could come and plant their stuff and sell it. And we've seen the first crop sold. So who did that? But they want to tell you the 1%, yeah, only in the pocket of the 1%. So I asked them, other than the rental of buildings, how else does the so-called 1% benefit from the state? They ain't paving a road. Other than maybe NH International, they're not putting up infrastructure for the state. How else they getting money from the state? Tell us now. They can't tell you that. But you know what? That is the talking point that they give them to run with. So now we see where the latest salvo is to talk about inflation and the increase in the cost of living, and in particular food. So they have an ad running. Let me get this here. Let me just get this here, right? I'm sure some of you would have seen it. And clearly it's very potent because when you go on TikTok, you have a lot of young people in particular who have now found an interest in politics and are doing videos and commenting on the political situation in the country. And most of what I have seen is critical of the government. And the content, when you listen to what is being said, is absolute rubbish. But you know what? It's taken root. Let me give you all an example of one. Let me get it here. Just now. Let me get it here. Where is it? And we need to understand that if you want the youth to participate in the politics and you want them to vote, and these young people are being brainwashed on some of the most trivial of issues, it tells you a lot. Where is it? Let me get it here. Just now. Let me get it here. Where is it? Where is it? It's the same thing I told you all about the young man the other day who was commenting on the homestead program and saying all Rowley offering the young people is to go and dig dirt in the hot sun. And that is what they have for young people, instead of explaining to them the full extent of the benefits of that program. Let me get it. Where is this thing, money? I need to get this here. So many things in this chat. Give me one sec, folks. I'm gonna find it. I know it here. That's not it. So, 1 second. But for those of us who are on, well, I'm not really on on TikTok, right? I just look only. I don't maintain any account there because I don't have time for that. Just so let me get it here. Where is this thing? So many of these things. So one of the things they're talking about is that the qualifications of some of the current ministers of government, right? As they're calling it, square pegs in round holes. And that is one of the things that the UNC has been pushing. And that seems to be gaining traction with the young people. About the minister of this don't have qualifications and the minister of that don't have qualifications and all of that. Where is this thing? Erickson, what that thing now is of a guy on TikTok. I think I may have passed it. Jenny, if you have it, send it for me. I think Juliet had posted it in the chat. It's not, folks. Give me 1 second. But while I look for it, let me just come back to the issue of Farley and this war that he wants to wage on the PNM. And they seem to have some support. And I listened to Trevor James talking about we need to redefine the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago. And we know where he's heading with that, right? Because they have found favor. That talk has found favor again, and basically talking about secession. All right, folks are not seeing this thing here. Don't know why. I really would have liked to play it. But anyway. Right, here it is.
To the police, man that told me I would have to apologize because I cannot address the Prime Minister in disrespect like that.
So let me just turn this thing on here so we can hear it better. Right. Right, so just listen to the petty things that the UNC is peddling for the young people and listen to how they're buying into it, right? And what could influence their decision whether or not who they will support in the upcoming election. Here it is.
Which Prime Minister? Same one that does what? To the police, man that told me I would have to apologize because I cannot address the Prime Minister in disrespect like that. Which Prime Minister? The same one that does watch hundreds die for the year and don't do nothing about it. The same one that is next to calling him bird while he reading that ridiculous budget and smile. The same Prime Minister that said, who dead. The same Prime Minister that have an incompetent Commissioner of Police and the one that hire as an advisor has also been proven to be incompetent. The same Prime Minister who have his ministers in Parliament who don't even have the degrees or the bachelors or the masters or whatever in the background, in the field of which they govern. And they don't even have the certificates for that. The same Prime Minister that does disrespect us every time he turns on a podium.
Now he looks to be probably in his mid to late 20s, right? But here we're talking about. So apparently he did a video cussing out the Prime Minister. In fact, the title of this video is FU and the PNM, right? FU and the PNM. So he is sold on the UNC's claim that the current minister, some of the current ministers are not qualified for the ministries that they lead because they don't have a degree in this and a degree in that. Listen to the things that will impact his decision as to who he should vote for, right? Talking about Coleman Burt and the same Prime Minister, as you said, who say who they're dead. The Prime Minister never said who they're dead. But this is a narrative that the UNC has been pushing. I have read that before and I have explained it. But during COVID, when the government took the decision, well, they didn't really implement the decision, but there was an intention to make vaccinations mandatory for public servants. And those who chose not to take the vaccines would be furloughed, meaning that they would not be allowed to come to work and that they would not have gotten paid until either they were vaccinated or COVID subsided. We know that the government did not follow through on that. But when that intention was stated, the OWTU, led by Ansel Roger, I can't remember if he was representing JTAM at the time, said that vaccination should be a matter of choice. Who want to take it, and who don't want to take it, that's left up to them. If they choose not to take it and they get COVID and they die, that's their business. But leave it up to them to choose if they want to take it or if they don't want to take it. And the government should not intervene in that and allow people to continue to work and get paid, as the case may be. Now, the position of the government at that time was vax and the unvax and so on, but we're not talking about it. And the Prime Minister, speaking at a press conference, was asked about that, and he said his characterization of what Ansel Roger said was basically the union is saying who live, live, and who dead, dead. Right? That is what the Prime Minister said. The union's position is, based on what Roger said, who live, live, and who dead, dead. Who want to take it and live, however, that's their business. Who don't want to take it and they get the virus and they die, that's their business. But leave it up to choice. The UNC take that and run with it and say, Dr. Rowley say, who live, live, and who dead, dead, given the impression that he was speaking about crime or the economic situation in the country. That is what they have been pushing. This young man, he heard that. He doesn't know the context in which the Prime Minister said what he said. And he take it and he come and he do a video on his TikTok that has been seen over 5,000 views. And how many hundreds of likes. But when you look at the people who are mostly would be inclined to listen to his videos, I only saw this because it was shared in a group that I'm in, a WhatsApp group. But when you look at the people who would be engaging and who are his followers, it's basically young people like himself who are being misled because they're hearing the lies, but they're not hearing the truth enough. So when it is that he come and he tell you who the same Prime Minister who he doesn't look like somebody who would be interested in politics. But we cannot underestimate that. I say, nah, them not interested in no politics. They ain't going to vote. Don't tell yourself that. Don't tell yourself that. And that would be the biggest mistake that the party could make. To tell themselves that these young people, yeah, you watch him and say, watch how he looking. He not going to vote. Really? Clearly, he talking politics. To the point where he feels he need to do a video and come and talk about it, that influence other young people like himself. But when he talks about who the same Prime Minister who have a set of people in the cabinet who are not qualified and who have the degrees and the certificates for what they're doing, I want to ask him, under Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the Minister of Education was a gynecologist. The Minister of Social Development was a veterinarian, right? Glenn Ramadhan Singh. The First Minister of Energy, Karen Prasad Bichan, she was an engineer and she was a lecturer. Her last job before she became a minister, she was lecturing at UWI. And when you go through it, and a lot of them you would see, ask them what were their qualifications. What were their qualifications? What degree Arnold Roberts has in sports? Because he's a swim coach, that makes him eminently qualified to speak on all sporting disciplines. But you see, people wouldn't remind them of these things. If based on my assessment of what his age is, it means that when these people were in office and were serving as ministers, he was probably in primary school or probably just starting secondary school. So politics was the furthest thing from his mind. But today he's an adult and he's more in tuned because when they sit down on the block and they have nothing to do, they're talking about that by Rowley murder, so and so by Rowley, that Rowley this and yeah, PNM hear him both say, I raised the price of gas once, I raised the price of gas twice, I raised the price 3 times, and then riot yet. I might raise it another time. And these are the things that they are talking about. Now, the fact of the matter is certain things ought not to be said. Right? And I'm certain Mr. Inwood probably, has regrets about making that joke, and that is exactly what it was. It was a joke. It was said in jest. But the UNC made it into something. And today, even years after that was said, it is still very potent. in creating the narrative that this government is heartless and they don't care about nobody and only don't care about the poor and all that. And they keep talking about it. Same thing, I saw an article there where they're talking about the youth and opportunities for the youth. And I can't play, I saw the TPP page posted something this morning, but it has some cussing in it, so I can't play it for you. But again, misleading. And I had to tell them, they're talking about the youth in Tobago and there are no opportunities for the youth in Tobago. And anytime they publish that, I tell them, all they want opportunities for the youth in Tobago, go and ask the fifth schedule. Ask the fifth schedule to provide you with opportunities. Because every time it's convenient to Fali and Trevor and the rest of them, the fifth schedule, and the government need to respect the fifth schedule, and the fifth schedule gives certain authorities to the THA. Well, right, one of which is for the THA to provide opportunities for the youth in Tobago. So if it is that you see things happening in Trinidad with the Ministry of Youth Development and it's not available in Tobago, don't blame Keith Rowley and don't blame Foster Cummins, blame the fifth schedule. The fifth schedule that they love to embrace and throw in the face of government to say that they're not respecting the fifth schedule, and the fifth schedule says that they're in charge of this and they're in charge of that. Well, you are in charge of education in Tobago. So when Roxborough Secondary, you're seeing classrooms that have three tables and 2 chairs at the start of school, the first day of school, that is not Nian Gatsby Dolly's fault. Talk to Zorisha Hackett, the fifth schedule. Talk to her. Go and talk to the fifth schedule. And tell the fifth schedule, you all need some of the same things that are happening in Trinidad. Like the Homestead program, which is in Trinidad and not Tobago. Talk to the fifth schedule. You find that you have the Shade House program. You have Pipe. You have, what's this other one with T and Tech Boy? Fuse. And all of the different ones. The over 40-something programs that are available for the young people in Trinidad, even though it's the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the fifth schedule, right? Focus on that. So when all they want to talk about the youth in Tobago and they're frustrated and they have no work and they coming out of school and have no opportunities and they have to come down to Trinidad, consult the fifth schedule. It's convenient to be used, right? Not Dr. Rowley and not Foster Cummins. Fifth schedule says that. But then all you want police force in Tobago too. Why? Because you can control them. But the current TTPS with Ilan Shibalize Bloomers, when they're doing their work, so you can't do your wrongdoing as you please with the current TTPS under the leadership of Ms. Balize Bloomers. So you want your own police force in Tobago that you could dictate the pace so that they could turn a blind eye to wrongdoing because we beholden to the chief sec and we beholden to the THA. And they don't know what evidence the police have that would have led to, because in the first place, a warrant was issued. So the police didn't sit down in a room and type up a warrant and say, hey, go and serve that on Trevor. They had to approach the court and they had to convince the judge, and the judge had to be satisfied with the evidence that was presented that a prima facie case has been made out to justify this warrant. Judges don't just give out warrant. Hey, you want warrant there? Come for it now. It don't work so. You have to go before the judge, plead your case, and say, well, okay, we are seeking a warrant based on this information that we have. This is what we have here. Reasonable. This shows reasonable cause or probable cause. Right. And we believe based on this, we need to get further information to either corroborate this information that we have here, or as the case may be. And the judge, having been satisfied that what you have presented before me could stand up in a court of law, I will give you a warrant. But the lawyers, all of these attorneys who always have plenty to say, wouldn't come out and explain these things to the members of the public. So when allegations are being made, that is the PNM and Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young and Fitzgerald Hines who set in the hounds on the THA and its executive because we still toting from 14-1. We accepted that when the PNM get licks, they get licks. The party will do its introspection and say, well, okay, this is where we went wrong. We realize, right, we did this, we did that. We should have done better. We didn't listen to the people. Whatever. We need to regroup. We need to fix it and then go back out there again and earn the trust and respect of the people again. When the PNM lost an election, I don't hear them saying EBC thief. The same EBC that they're telling you in the back pocket of the PNM. The PNM was able to use the EBC to win the 2020 election, but couldn't use the same EBC to avoid 14-1. Make that make sense, Samana. So the chief elections officer for Narcissus Scope, the same influence that she used to steal the election for the PNM in 2020. She couldn't use that in Tobago to gerrymander so that the PNM could have win more seats in Tobago. Same EBC. There are no different EBC in Tobago. But that is the stupid narrative that they post, that they push in. Right? That the PNM thief, they thief the election. And the only way they could win the next election is the thief. The same thing the Republicans say in the US. As the PNM says, win alone, lose alone, stand alone. Win alone, lose alone, stand alone. If the population is not satisfied with your performance, and I think, and again, I make the point, the biggest challenge that the government has is that more needs to be done to let the country know what is being done, what they have done over the last 9 years. Because far too often, you're still seeing and hearing people say or asking, what did the government do for the last 9 years? They didn't do nothing. 9 years now, how much billions of dollars spent on here? The PNM had nothing to show. And whenever I come across comments like that on Facebook and so on, and I respond, as my good friend Carol populating her list of things that have been done. And when you drop it on them, so all of a sudden they're gone quiet. And you're waiting every minute, every 10 minutes, you're checking to see if they reply. No reply. Checking again, later. No reply. You know why? Because they know. They weren't aware of all of these things. Because their frequency is tuned into, let me listen to the propaganda of the opposition. So we're listening to the underground report. They're listening to Dumb and Dotish on 91.9, right? They listen to some of those radio stations that are partial to the UNC. They'll go in on Facebook pages like Kick Out the PNM and all of these different things. They're listening to people like Philip Alexander and Inshan Ishmael, who only posting a set of negative stuff. They will go on the Facebook pages of people like Jayanti, Lakshmi Diyal, David Lee, Kevin Ramnarayan, who only pushing negative stuff. Happy to see an article speaking about Venezuela and what they perceive to be negatives that could impact our ability to monetize the dragon gas, to monetize, well, it doesn't affect Manatee, right? But the other fields for which we have gotten contracts, anything that they see, because let me tell, and I keep making this point, and I always have to come back to the issue of energy, which is our future. For the foreseeable future, that is. But this administration continues to do things that could assist with diversification, because they have gone beyond the realm of just talk. And much of what is being done to diversify the economy is coming through the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, because they recognize the young people are the future. It don't make sense that you're investing tons and tons of money into persons who are currently involved in these various sectors, some of whom are on the cusp of retirement. So you invest a set of money there, and these people might only be in the field or in this sector for the next 5 years. So invest in the young people who might spend 20, 30, 40 years in this sector. And as technology improves, they will embrace it, so that 20 years from now, we would not still be having the conversation about we need to diversify the economy. And 30 years from now, we're still having the conversation, we need to diversify the economy. Because if what is being done now to the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, and not just that, because the government is also providing funding for persons who are entrepreneurially inclined. Business people, those who selling on the streets, who selling their little clothes and whatnot on Henry Street and Frederick Street and so on. The government is telling them, if you are from East Port of Spain, come. We want to train you, and we want to give you the money to expand your business. We want to take you off of the street if you're so inclined, and we want to put you in a stall in New City Mall. The government is about to build another mall next to the New City Mall down on Independence Square there, to provide more space to assist these people. They're saying some people, you will pay no rent, and existing tenants will receive reduced rents, just to encourage people to get into business so you can earn money. And then you're paying taxes to the state. But at least you're self-employed and you're writing your own paycheck every month. But you have a leader of the opposition who every time she talking about we will create 55,000 jobs. Why not 100,000 jobs? No talk about entrepreneurship. No talk about creating new business owners. No talk about any investment in the young people to help them to start their own business, so that we can emulate what takes place in the US with respect to the middle class. If you want to rebuild the middle class, that is where you start, by empowering people to conduct their own business. Nobody's saying they need to leave their jobs. Some people could start a business, they have a side hustle, and they have people in their businesses running their business during the day while it is they're doing the 8 to 4, the 9 to 5. So they're making extra money. But no talk about that coming from that side. This side, you have it. But it is not being promoted enough on this side. So when it is, that is why I'm not surprised whenever these questions come up, what the government do, and 9 years, and what the PNM have to show. And when you show it to them, they go on silent. Or they shift the conversation or the goalpost to talk about, so about crime. We talk about crime. Why you already talk about crime? We talk about crime. Crime and murder is a crime. But crime is not murder, and the two cannot be used interchangeably. But again, things are being done. Before I move to that, things are being done to diversify the economy. And the seeds that are being planted today will bear fruit probably in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. And hopefully this conversation about diversification would be on the back burner. And if maybe what is being done today had been done 20 years ago or 30 years ago, we would not be having that conversation. But you have Ralph Maraj, who every Sunday will write an article talking about this Trinidad and Tobago is a one pony economy and a one horse economy. And nothing is being done for diversification, but he will never, ever write an article that even makes mention of any of the programs that are being offered by this government to bring young people into the fold. And so is it any wonder crime is where it is? Because if the opportunities are out there and the young people don't know about it, or very few of them know about it, right? And all they hear in their ears, those who may be inclined to take up these opportunities, they only seeing and hearing the negative. Just go on TikTok, as I said, and listen to some of them. You have plenty. I didn't even realize you had so many young people who are politically inclined. But now you have Makila Pandey. You know, many of them now she has gotten under her wings. Missed opportunity for this administration. Because she going out there, working in the same, and she's focusing right now on PNM constituencies. Going into PNM constituencies and meeting the young people and saying certain things. But she should know better, right? But now you're seeing them promoting her. They're doing the TikTok videos. They're wearing the patriotic front jerseys and promoting Makila. And if you vote for Makila, Makila will do this and Makila will do that. And I'm listening to these young people and I'm like, wow, boy. Yeah. If yes, it's time for a change. We need to put Makila in. And all these things that she would do. And I'm saying, but how would she do that? And it shows a lack of understanding of how governance works. Because I am sure she is seeing these videos and is seeing the misrepresentation in it, that these things that these young people believe that she could do, she cannot do. Because if it could have been done, other administrations would have done it. Her father didn't do it, and he was prime minister for 6 years, and he couldn't do it. But now they come in and tell her, yeah, put Makila, and she will do this, and she will do that. And I just sit and I'm like, wow, boy, Makila is a magician. She could be a government all by herself if she could accomplish all of these great things. And you know what? More young people listening, because these young, and they see the benefit in tapping into that voter base of young people who are disaffected when it comes to the politics. Who couldn't care less to vote. So some of them who don't even have ID cards, now being encouraged by their fellow young persons to go and get your ID card. To vote for who? Not for the PNM. Instead of using their platform to tell the young people like themselves, hey, but you know, the Ministry of Youth Development, it have this program. The Ministry of Youth Development has that program. And maybe what the Ministry of Youth Development should do, instead of only focusing on the caravan, which is a very good idea, but it is limited into what it could do. Engage some of these young people who are social media influencers. When you look at the videos and the amount of views that they get in, and most of the people who view it as young people like themselves, use them, bring them on board as youth ambassadors, and even if you had to get them a little stipend for them to make a video or two on your behalf. You have people like Certified Samson. You have people like Kyle Feller and all of these guys doing, they have brand ambassadors of people like Cole and all of these different things. These are the folks you need to bring on board. They have over 1 million, some of them. Certified Samson has over 1 million subscribers, 1 million followers. The Kyle guy has over 200 and something thousand followers. And you have Junior Lee and all of these people. Bring them on board because they have a youth following and let them do their thing and reach out to that audience so that it could get out there instead of you have people like Makila Pandey who going out and bringing these people under her wings And they're making videos that is clearly sharing information that is incorrect and selling dreams, false hopes. One of the young lady who is very popular, she was with Watson Duke, doing work for Watson Duke during the last local election last year. I think she worked with him, and up to now she didn't get paid. And so she had done in her early, the first videos I saw of her was her cussing out Watson Duke because she didn't get paid and she worked and she didn't know what. But some of the things that she's saying and accusing the government of, because she does some, her mouth is filthy. She may have one or two videos that doesn't have the cussing, but for the most part, for such a young woman to be cursing like that, filthy. But she has a following. She has a following, people who like to listen to her. And you have adults who listen to her too and applaud that and they liking those videos. Rather than going in the comments and telling a young lady, you shouldn't be doing them things. But who is she influencing? That young man that I just played there, who is he influencing? And you have others like them. More needs to be done to promote what the government is doing, what they have done. They have done a lot, and the people don't know. So that when it is you hear $5 billion being allocated to the Ministry of Education, and we don't hear from those in authority as to what that money is being spent on, people will make their own assumptions. So they will see this, some of these schools and say, $5 billion the ministry, how come school is? It took the minister to go and to give us the breakdown to tell us how much of that $5 billion goes into paying salaries for teachers, salaries for ministry staff, to pay for things like GATE and UTT and COSTAT and all of these different things, so that really and truly there isn't enough money left over to be able to build schools and to repair schools and all of that. And it is good that the minister did that. But again, not everybody listens to I-95. So a certain amount of people would have heard that, but for the most part, a lot of people would not have heard it. So it takes people like myself and Jenny and others and to utilize our platforms to now replay these things so that the wider public could hear it and understand what the situation is. And we need more ministers to do the same thing. So when they're complaining about the state of the healthcare and health, get how much billions of dollars every year and where the money went, Mr. Dayal Singh now needs to go on I-95 or wherever else, and he needs to sit down and he needs to give them the breakdown and show them how much money goes into salaries and how much money goes into this and how much money goes into that. These are the things that the population needs to understand. The same thing the Minister of National Security needs to do. Let people understand. So when they see all these billions being allocated to these ministries and they're telling themselves, why isn't this better and why isn't that better, with all that amount of money, they can understand where the bulk of the money is going and where the challenges lie. And unless the country's revenue position increases or improves, this is what it is going to be for the time being. But we have 2025 to 2027 coming up. And we know, if all goes well, that we are going to see a significant increase in our gas production based on contracts that have been signed by this administration over the last, couple of years. And what is interesting to note is that with all the sweetheart concessions that the UNC People's Partnership gave to these energy companies between 2010 to 2015 to encourage them to come and look for gas and look for oil in Trinidad and Tobago's waters and within our borders, none of the gas contracts that have been signed over the last year and the last 2 years came about as a result of any of those sweetheart concessions. None. And I dare Kamla Prasad Bisessa, Kevin Ramnarine, or anybody from the UNC, David Lee, to come and tell us, well, you see, this gas that coming on stream in 2027 is because of what we did in 2014, or what we did in 2013, or because of these tax concessions that we granted in 2015 is why Manatee coming on stream, or why Dragon Gas will be coming on stream, or coconut, or ginger, or coquina mannequin, or Lauren. I challenge them to come and tell us, this gas here is because of what we did. And every single one of those gas contracts that you look at came about as a result of what the efforts of Stuart Young and Franklin Kahn, not as a result of anything that Kevin Ramrine did. Because if he did that, he would have posted up on his Facebook page instead of looking and scouring all over the internet every day for things happening in Venezuela. Anything that pointing to possible further sanctions against Venezuela, which could impact Dragon, well, they love to post that. Whoa! And I like by other call back. Check my back now. Right? And as he That's the situation that we face. Yeah, that's my cousin calling. Forgive me. So that's the challenge with which we are faced right now. Right? How do we treat with it? Well, I see. Well, anyway, let me not go there. But we do what we can, what needs to be done. All right. But again, the country's prospects look good from 2027 onward. When we look at the amount of gas in these different fields, 1 trillion cubic feet, 4.7 trillion cubic feet, 2.7 trillion cubic feet. Trinidad and Tobago's proven gas reserves is about 11.45 trillion cubic feet. And the amount of contracts that Strong would have signed over the last year is leaving us at least half or more of that. But it as a result of, and Churchill didn't have to give any sweetheart concessions. He didn't have to give any tax concessions to the like of which the UNC gave between 2010 to 2015. He didn't have to do that. When it is that these companies were threatening to shut down plants and leave, as you all did a couple of days ago, he called their bluff. He called their bluff. So all they want to do, no problem. We won't play that game. Go ahead and shut it down. That's what he said. And today, they shut it down for a couple of days, and then they came to the bargaining table, and they're back in operation. So when they want to cuss out the government and Rowley and Stuart Chung do this and do that, understand that from 2027, when the trillions of cubic feet of gas starts to be produced and it coming to Atlantic LNG, which they cost the government for spending how much, 200 million or whatever it is to keep Train 1 alive. When we start seeing the gas starting to pump and come in and the money start to flow, let me see if these same people will be cussing Rowley and cussing Stuart Chung. Right? When it is that because of these, we start to see an improvement in the forex situation in the country. Let me see if they're going to be cussing Keith Rowley and cussing Stuart Chung and say, yeah, Rowley is because of Rowley so and so. All of a sudden, now we ain't getting problems to get US again. You feel they will do that? You feel they will tell Rowley thanks? No, you know what I say? Well, that is what the government's supposed to do. They was doing their work. What we praising them for? But when they didn't do their work, they have plenty to say. But on the flip side, that don't happen. You see, once the time they're 12:24, I tell you all I had to jump off, right? So soon enough. So let me open the lines one time. Plenty more to talk about, but we will deal with that on another day. Mr. Yates.
Yes, good afternoon.
Greetings.
Good afternoon. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Good. Just 1 or 2 points I want to make. And specifically, I want to address 1 or 2 points made by Mr. Trevor James. I understand from a friend that he addressed himself. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Trevor Williamson James. So he's an international political figure. So he's like Kissinger and those people. Just like his boss who said, I have a diplomat waiting for me. And he's a Chinese ambassador. Thank you. Yeah. 1 or 2 questions, Mr. James. 1 or 2 questions. Okay. Do you remember the name Vanilla Allen Toppin? You remember that name, Vanilla Allen Toppin? And I'll tell you why I am calling her name. Because you have accused this government of tyranny. That's the word you use. Of tyranny. You see? Now, what Vanilla Allen did to Dr. Rowley, with the blessings of Kamala Prasad, etc., because she herself admitted that it was a cabinet decision. And she, as a Black Tobago woman, took up the gauntlet and decided to do for Bissetta and her cabinet what Bissetta wouldn't do, what no Indian minister in cabinet would do. But you, as a Black Tobago woman, stood up in the parliament. You opted to do the nastiness. That she stood up there and said that Dr. Rowley's father raped his mother, and that's how Dr. Rowley came to be, and as a consequence, maybe it was preordained, because Dr. Rowley came out of a rape situation, that Dr. Rowley raped a young woman in Tobago too, from which union came a son. And despite the fact that the woman denied it in a teleconferencing delivery from Canada, and she said there were 2 young people in love and there was never any question of rape. Trevor James, I wonder how you felt about that as a Tobagonian. As a Tobagonian. I wonder how you felt about that. A fellow Tobagonian, a Black Tobago woman, saying that a Black Tobago man agreeing that he is a rapist. So your hatred, you and your family and you all and your people, You will tell me that you all decided that you so hate Dr. Rowley and you're so envious. Hello? Hello? Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And because you hate him so much, you are not prepared to say anything. You'll keep quiet. You'll keep quiet because you know why? You all hate Dr. Rowley. And you all wish that you all were in charge of Tobago's politics. But stupid Fally and Trevor James don't even realize that they are just little pawns in a bigger game of professional envy. That your family and others who are deafeningly silent now in Tobago, they are just jealous that Dr. Rowley is the Prime Minister. This Tobago poor boy reached so high that he's the Prime Minister of Tobago. And I, with my little masters and doctorate, I am not the Prime Minister. That is what Fally and Trevor James don't understand. They don't understand. And I want to continue to ask you a couple more questions, Mr. J. A friend of mine called me yesterday and told me that at least on 3 occasions, you use the term, listen carefully, you use the term local standi. Local, like local government election?
Yeah.
Local standi. Trevor James. And you all both that you come from this distinguished academic intellectual family. Where the hell you get local standi from, Trevor James? Where you get that from? And by the way, while we're on that, let me ask you a question. You're accusing PNM and Dr. Rowley of tyranny? Of tyranny, Trevor James? When the police got their approval from the DPP to search the premises and consequently lay charges against Alan Warner and his son, did you as a Tobagonian have a problem with that? Did you see that as an act of tyranny or just the law taking its course? You're comfortable with the law taking its course because you feel they are PNM. They are PNM and they are Dr. Rowley's friends. And by the way, if you notice, every time they talk about the Warner case in the paper, there's always a comma.
Yes. Personal
friend of Dr. Rowley. Dr. Rowley's good friend, comma, and they move on. What do you think about that, Trevor James? What do you think about that? You tell me. But I want to let you know something, eh? You see your sponsors in Trinidad, who you all giving all big contracts, they will use you all and spit you all out. They will use you all and spit you all out like a plum seed. Because while you all harboring your friends from Central and South Trinidad, the UNC, while you all harboring them, you must ask your puppet master, why did you decide not to extradite Galvaransing and Ferguson in 2011? Why? What guided that decision? Did it have anything to do with a family connection? Did it have anything to do with Galvaransing's wife leaving your swearing-in ceremony at Knowsley Building? Did it have anything to do with that? And within a year, the decision was taken to not extradite Galvaransing and Ferguson. The next year, 2012, Section 34. Section 34. So when you want to talk about tyranny, Trevor James, and you notice, Mr. Romain, you realize the anti-Trinidad police and licensing officers talk has come back up again. Mm-hmm. It has regurgitated itself via the same 2 principals, via the same 2 people who told them, don't come here. Don't come here. Fally Augustine's words, you're not welcome. Trevor James, once you arrive in Tobago, I, Trevor James, so he's a baton. He's the Commissioner of Police. I, Trevor James, will direct security at the airport to send you all back to Trinidad. So he has that authority. That is where we are in Trinidad and Tobago. But Mr. James, let me just close by telling you this. I'm closing now. Just one more thing. When you want to display your nasty arrogance, just get your language in shape. Eh? Get your language in shape. Eh? There's no such thing There's no such thing as local standard. And you said it, according to my friend, at least 3 times. So be very careful with your words now. And don't regale us with your absolute illiteracy. Please spare us. Thank you, Mr. Rupert.
Thank you, sir. And you know, Watson Duke, a couple of years ago, had a press conference. And he made all manner of allegations. So, let me get this here. Hold one sec there, Jen. He made all manner of allegations against Farley about how Farley came through the airport in Tobago with how much kickback money in a bag. Up to now, you see Farley sue Watson. Where the lawsuit? Where the lawsuit? All the things that Watson tell us about who collect bag of money. No lawsuit. I wonder if that was politically motivated too. Let me get this here. Jenny. Hello?
Hi, Dominic.
Yeah, Jen.
Hi, good afternoon to you and all those who look and tune into Facts or Stubborn Things. When I speak about Watson Solomon Drew, I speak about the PSA experience because I've been in the PSA since 2001. And during those times, I have been serving as a general counsel, rep, conference, a delegate rep, chairperson of my section, vice chairperson of my section, chairperson of the JCC. So I've had a lot of that type of interaction with Watson Solomon Drew. And I know how he would have damaged the PSA. One of the things he would have done is taken over $500,000, say that he's going to retire, and he remained there, although he took the money. We know that he took the money and he would have launched the PDP. He would have bought jerseys from China, Randy Magdalena, and had boxing and things to eat and drink. And Farley was right there. We know in 2016, Watson Solomon Drew was arrested and charged on 1 count of rape and 4 counts of sexual assault. He spent 4 days in Romania before he get bail of $250,000. Farley Chavez Augustine was right there. Drew cannot account for about $6 million for the period 2014 to 15 or 16, anywhere around there. But I heard deceased Coach Roy Charles said Farley knew about Watson Duke and he remained. The point I'm making is this. Farley Chavez Augustine is worse than Watson Solomon Duke. He would have played there to catch Kobo alive, and Duke would have fell fit because I think they tell themselves Duke's stupid, but he's the one who had the avenue to get them into politics. And he and people like Faith B. Israel and them who probably feel they're brighter than Duke would have played the game nicely. And when they get into office, they throw him out. So I'm saying all this to say, Tobago, if all they feel Duke was bad, Farley Chavez Augustine is worse. Because he's a man smiling, he keeping his Sabbath, he going to church, he's a nice boy, he man a nice boy. But let me tell you all something, he have nothing good for Tobago. He lacks the experience, he lacks the ability and the competence, in my opinion, to take Tobago to anywhere. And now for him to be telling Tobago that is political war, after Tobago has been seeing a lot of crime, and he's putting you, people when see the word political, they see war. Because police went on Trevor James, the man who I just say in my opinion have Hubert syndrome. I say in my opinion too, dotish looking as hell. Went in his place. Farley is saying they went in a kind of way and all that. I watched the video. The police officer was very respectful. They showed him the warrant. He read from it. He stood up there. The license officers went to his vehicle, look in the hood, whatever it is, to come up to him. I didn't see nobody was disrespectful or badging on him. But Farley want to continue this conversation that Trinidad police and license officers have something against the people of Tobago. and Dr. Rollison was instructing the police to do what they're doing. I want to ask Farley, when he was experiencing all them high murders, he was begging the People's National Movement, the same Prime Minister, and the police, and the security service to come to help all you. And they came across there and they had a conference. He was well pleased. It wasn't PNM police then. When they get themselves into problem, it's not police and Trinidad police then. But because you understand that you're losing political strength in Tobago, the only thing you have to hold on to, just like all them failed leaders on them, is fear. To put fear in the minds of Tobagonians that Trinidadians don't like them and the police don't like them. Chavez, boy, I'm telling you now, Tobago fell up at you and that stupid talk. Because I'll tell you what, there are more Tobagonians living in Trinidad than in Tobago. And they're living here for years, very happy, comfortable, and it's a love. We want to tell you also, the largest corporation in this country, the Tonopuno-Piaco Regional Corporation, does get less money than you does get in Tobago for the same amount of burgesses that our corporation have. So you can't talk about Tobago and nobody like Tobago. Some of the highest public officers came from Tobago. We have the Chief Justice, we have the head of the public service, we have the Prime Ministers, 2 Prime Ministers, presidents, we could go on and on. They have always had a place in the scheme of Trinidad and Tobago. But you, with your second-rate self, because you ain't no serious English teacher. And how you get your degree is under Orville London.
I don't know what's going on now. Let me just check this thing. Jenny, you there?
I'm like, I hear you.
Yeah, Jen, go ahead.
Yes. So what I was saying is this. He doesn't want to battle the People's National Movement, but because of Mr. Orville London, who he called some second-rate teacher, it's because of him he gets scholarship to go and study. The People's National Movement built Tobago, all infrastructure. The Shore Park where they recently had a meeting, and here there was a shed. PNM built that. If you see the state of the arc, the only thing you don't have is shape like Napa and Sapa, but state of the arc inside there, because I went there for Best Village, because I judged for Best Village, and I saw the lighting, the space, the ambience, everything. PNM built that. And everything that built in Tobago is PNM built. But Farley continue to push hate. Let me tell you, that could only carry so far. And the hate that people feel, they go turn on you. Because you and Watson Juke and the PDP at the time only promise these young people all kind of things. And what all they do nothing to enhance their lives. And all they keeping them from the programs that Trinidad enjoying. All the programs in the Ministry of Youth Development National Services have, or they're keeping them from those programs. Some young people ain't going to forgive your Farley boy. And it's your own bed bug, your own lice, your own dogs go turn on and bite you, and you think will be nice. But you continue, go lam. And as for the people for the UNC in Trinidad, we have already heard there's a kleptocratic government, meaning a government official was thieving. We hear that they did nothing for the economy. We heard that because of them, the crime situation is where it is because they dismantled all the security system that this country had. We heard that Kamla Prasad Misses are drunk. We hear in conversation about she wearing Pampers. I don't know. But I know if you're diabetic and you're a heavy drinker, years and years of drinking, and you're a chain smoker, and you're her age, the chances that it could affect your kidneys. So nobody can tell me Kamla Prasad Misses could come back to run this country. They had the highest oil prices ever between 2010 and 15. What did they do? Corruption and more corruption. Roche say that. Makandal Daga say so. Abdullah say so. Jack Warner say so. So them can't come back now because they hear a gas boom coming. And they feel that PNM lay track that them kleptocratic booty going to run their life. 2025, we know the agenda. The People's National Movement is what we want to see. A future for the children or the children, and children. Generational wealth. Although make sure they keep the People's National Movement there, because anytime UNC go back there, it's the same thing. It's rooting for how much $100. It's party and them tell me you don't know where the money come from. It's friends and family getting contracts and kickback. We see it, we heard it, and we know it. We have enough evidence there. So all they get tied up with old talk and get chained up with old talk. And then young people and them parroting what they hear because it's singing good. Don't get yourself educated and see if you don't get used and abused. I hope all you have grease when those things happen. Don't educate all yourself on ways the truth in this country. And again, for the People's National Movement, the social media officer, I really don't want to talk about the individual, but at the end of the day, you have plenty of work to do in doing it, because we out here doing the work and we have been doing it and we'll continue to do it because we are about country. We're not about personality. We're not about position. We're doing the work because we understand the importance of People's National Movement being in office. So, Mr. Emeritus SMO, if you don't get it and don't understand it, I don't know what I can do to make you understand. So, make have a blessed season, a blessed week, everybody, and love you all. Bye.
Thank you, Jen. It would be a crying shame if after all the work that has been done by Stuart Young and others, for what is supposed to come in 2027, for the UNC to benefit from something like that they had no input in, right? Their strategy failed. Because of them, your country, your government, well, not your government, we would have lost tons and tons of revenue because of those sweetheart concessions that brought us no value. No new well was dug because of that. No new gas, no new oil. Stuart Young didn't have to do any of that. Franklin Kahn didn't have to do any of that. Keith Rowley didn't do any of that. And today, in about 3 years' time, the amount of gas that will be coming, to put that into the hands of the UNC, and we know when they get plenty money, what it is do. We will go back to the days of 65 and $66 billion budgets. And who benefiting from it? Tell me one program that they put in place between 2010 to 2015 that is today still running, that you could say helping the people of the country. But you know what they want? Baby grant, $500 a month to make child. Color me orange, 3 months, $69 a day. Where's this other one? Land for the landless. Yeah, Eric, 1 sec. Land for the landless. We're giving you a piece of land for it to build according to Kamala 2x4, and then you will graduate to a 10x10. And she living in a what? 3,500, 4,000 square feet. But she think that 2x4 or 10x10 is sufficient for you. Yeah, but put her back. Eric, go ahead.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Rubin. Good afternoon to you, listeners, callers about the successful program. Normally, if you get the bill box drain that goes nowhere.
Yes.
So all of that, you understand, they give contracts. Imagine they giving a contractor a dealership who is mechanic to build drain.
Mm-hmm.
It has so much of things that these people did in 2010 to 2015. And you telling me, Dominic, in 2025, these people want to sit down and say the government ain't do nothing, the administration now ain't do nothing to the people.
Yes.
It goes to show enough is not being done to promote the successes of what this administration would have done over the last 9 years. And this is why I keep saying we have to be on top of our game in promoting and selling the achievement. At the end of the day, Dominic, we just can't do it alone. All hands are needed on deck. Right? No matter the question, Dominic, the population, well, Jenny would have raised a topic just now about the money allocated to big one, the Tunapuna Piaco Corporation. The Tunapuna Piaco Corporation have 250,000 people, right, in 60 different districts, right? Tobago have 67,000 people. And every single year, when the government reads the budget, they allocate a percentage to Tobago, which is far greater than the budgets in Tunapuna Piaco Corporation. And every year, for when Tobago read their budget, they only want more money, more money, more money, more money. Where is the stage in the sea that these people say they built for Carnival in 2021? Where is the tourists that you want claim that only got for the first year of Carnival in 2021, 2022? I think it's 2022. right? Where was the tourist or the tourism or the showcase for Tobago for Carnival when I first started in 2022? That first year that the Carnival, well, you know, it wouldn't be 100%, but only had a year after last year to make a difference. Last year was a little better. Right? Only bad mountain Trinidadian people, and it's the same Trinidadian people coming up on the carnival in October month, which is next month. The same set of Trinidadian people, only bad mountain. About it's Trinidad police and Trinidad. It is Trinidad and Tobago police service, Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard service, Trinidad and Tobago licensed authority. It's Trinidad and Tobago. If you know, Dominic, you see, these people that want to talk a lot of gubar. If Tobago decide to let go Trinidad, crap or smoke them piping up. And they're not understanding the reality because Trinidad cannot facilitate them. Barbados cannot facilitate them. Will it be? Everything will be going to shift because the maritime boundary, everything will have to shift. And they're not understanding the logistics. But then again, you have Watson Duke, also known as the piggy man, right? Coming to talk us that foolishness about they want to be Prime Minister, to be this or the other, or they cannot sustain on themselves for even 1 second. Or they heavily dependent on Trinidad. And they knows that. Don't figure all they have THA Tobago, or they feel all it's the old government. The THA that is a branch from the central government that will handle Tobago affairs. But Palfalian feel that they are prime ministers and ministers in Tobago, all these assemblymen, all these secretaries. Anything have to go through, you have to go through the central government. Ministry of X, Ministry of Y, Ministry of Z. But you see, they're going to play master referee for that. That little thing that took place with Trevor James, he do a live Friday, and the voter gubar that man talk is going to cost me to cost any lives. I said, you as a assemblyman, that what the people in Tobago vote for? But then again, the Tobagonians was 4-1 in 2021. All again was always so in 2021. All didn't take picture from Trinidad when we take that mistake and put that woman as prime minister and is still reeling the effects 14 years into 15 years later, and only telling me in my face I must sit down and put you back in government after all of you refuse to support any legislation to deal with crime, and they with crime out of control now. Or they want to blame the government and the administration, or they cannot blame the PNM administration for dealing with crime. It has the resources out there to deal with the problem. The problem lies with us as citizens, and the opposition is fueling the problem. Why? Because they refuse to support anything that is good for the people of this country. But then again, Dominic, it's party before country. She said it loud, otherwise go to hell. So I must vote for you because to support your party at the ass of the country. It update me. Before I go, people, Sister Jenny said it, the agenda 2025, we have to get ourselves together. Forget about the social media officer. He's a persona non grata right now with our book. We have to do all hands on deck. We have to promote what we know that the government did in the last 9 years and what they have planned to do going forward into the future. Anytime you will see go there, all those deals that they did with those gas deals and things, they're going to scrap everything just so they did the rapid rail, the smelter project, Jindal with Jindal, all good initiative for this country that they would have scrapped, even though they did the Sanders and all too. So people stay focused. Jenny and myself, we could do it around. I'll be doing certain recording of certain areas, and we go bring it to all you, and you will see the achievements that the government did in the last 9 years. Right? Dominic, good program as usual. Look at listening.
Thank you, sir. Right. Okay, we take 2 more. and then jump off. Let me get this here. Brian. Hello.
Good afternoon, Dominic.
Yes, sir. Greetings.
Good afternoon to your listeners and callers. Dominic, give the people of Tobago. Don't want to see what is going on in Tobago. The fisherman that was crying for his boat and the engine last week on TV6. There'll be many more of them crying because nothing is being done for the people of Tobago. Farley's getting money, you know. Farley got $50 million to pay out to people of Tobago who assisted in the recent cleanup of the oil spill. I understand that many of them have not gotten any money as yet.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Farley is not helping the people of Tobago. Boats and engines are missing, and there is no accountability. There's some security there that's supposed to be looking after it, and they're not doing anything. So what I gathered, and I watch this big man crying. Big people. You understand? What is Farley doing with the money? There's a certain gentleman who normally calls in on another frequency on I-95.5. And many times when he calls in on the morning show, he's called dotish when he brings about information. Whatever he has to say, he's being called dotish. He's a regular caller. And if every time he comes on, you calling him dotish. That's what he's saying. Because if he was what he said, that is dotishness. But you call it, but you said, you make your comment and you say dotish. But you say you don't vote. But you have a severe lean towards a particular party. Or should I say against a particular party? Yeah? There's something going on also, Dominic, with Tobago. Apparently they're going to privatize Tobago. Like you got to pay to go Tobago eventually. Because the glass bottom boat people are concerned that eventually they may have to go elsewhere in order to get people and to do what they need to do in order to bring in some money. Because it appears as though some people are being removed from Tobago and they're going to build a club. What is all that about? Farley ain't talking more at all. It was in the news. What are you hearing Farley talking about that? You understand? And this thing, and I'm telling you, there's going to come a day to be going here. I hope they're listening, you know, because there's going to come a day when they will get what they're asking for, some of them. And it ain't going to work out good for them, you know, because just now the Honorable Prime Minister is going to bring back that bill with respect to autonomy, more autonomy for Tobago. And at 6.9% of the budget, I'm waiting to see how the opposition is going to vote for that. Because I remember Khadija Amin always complaining about how much money Tobago getting when it was only getting 4.03%.
Ramona Rambial too?
Yes.
When she was there.
Yes, Ramona Rambial when she was there in charge of Tobago, shadowing Tobago affairs. She was complaining. So I wait to see when it goes up to 6.9%, who's going to vote and say yes. I'm waiting to see. Because that is what's going to have to happen if it is that Tobago has to be, it has to be, I think it's a 3/5 majority. In order for them to get that autonomy and get that type of money. So I wait to see it come in. And this is an election year. So we will wait to see what the opposition has to say. So Tobago don't have to wait too long because the Honorable Prime Minister indicated he's bringing it back. And we will wait and we will see how people are going to vote. We will wait to see, listen to all the commentary and the concerns that they may have about the 6.9%.
The UNC, the partnership, never gave Tobago more than 4.03%. Never, not once. In the 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days that they were there. You think they're going to say, okay, give them 6.9? I wait to see. I wait to see that. Understand? You have to be careful. I hear this stupid man they call Ramnarayan, who's supposed to be this, he's an expert on oil and gas. So he's the go-to man for a certain TV station on a morning. He's the expert. What are them myself? But the other morning on UNC3, I listening him to being advertised as the expert, the go-to man for oil and gas. And he's saying it at 3.5 TCF of gas northeast of Tobago. I say, boy, what is he talking about? Boy? He alone talking about that. And crying gloom and doom and all of the negotiations that we held with Maduro to get gas from those fields, except Manatee, of course, because you know Manatee is ours, as you rightly say. But you crying gloom and doom because you have nothing good to say, because it's hot in all here, and they itching to get back into it. So they will do anything, people, and we have to look out for any and everything. I remember when the last convention, Dr. Rowley indicated that social media was going to be the key. And that is where we have to step up with social media. Because that is where the youths are. And they recognize that. We must recognize that too. Dominic, have a good day.
You too, sir. Let me take this last one. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you, darling?
I am good.
UNC gave concessions because they didn't know their job. You know your job, right? You know your work, you're a good baker, you're a good cook. So you will sell your products at the price you see fit because of your excellence and your competence. So they get sweetheart deals that made it, they didn't know what you're about. That is all you know. And I want to know, should they win, God forbid, Lord, I'm begging them, would they take stake to what TNM did? Because Kama said TNM did nothing. The hospital I went to last week was built from straw, a ferry, and 2 toothpicks. And young people have tried something. As my uncle said, the youth is on the young. Cursing don't make you intelligent. It shows you a lack of intelligence. Before you talk, investigate, Google. You are living on lies, misinformation, slander. That is not the way to go. Instead, think for the youth are being put in place for your future. But instead of you want to lies, why? That makes sense? What is wrong with young people? If you don't know, ask a question. By stupidity. This Indian guy called Ivan Tarana, and I wonder where he gets his brain. Crackerjack box? He's talking about how the government wastes money. But 12 million, 12 million to go to India, waste of money. 7 million helicopter fuel, waste of money. 7 million fire truck, waste of money. 24 million to India, waste of money. 10+ million, waste of money for Chaponil. Look at the fellow hole. The money from life on support, waste of money. It's not accountable for our nation. Saran Kelly, get a job. Stop being the UNC puppet. Dom, have a good day and a good weekend. Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you. Right, and happening right now in La Joqueta, Tal Paro. Today is Sunday, 8th September. The La Joqueta Tobago constituency and the Member of Parliament. Foster Cummings is hosting in conjunction with the Heliconia Foundation for Young Professionals and the La Joqueta Foundation for Empowerment host the La Joqueta Unity Run. This purposeful partnership is done with a view to promoting health and wellness and to build and foster a better, stronger community. So from 5 a.m. runners, well, that would have taken place. Immediately after the race, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., there will be a health fair at the compound of the Office of the Member of Parliament, located at the HDC Village Plaza, 20 Daisy Voisin Street, Phase 2, La Joqueta. Members of the public will have free access to certain medical tests. Further, a legal clinic will be set up and there will be free access to lawyers and legal advice. All are welcome to participate and attend. So you don't only have to be from the constituency of La Joqueta, South Paro. So if you have the time, you can head up that way and see what can happen, right? So take advantage of the opportunity. Also, too, I believe today is the PNM Women's League is having an event as well. Just now, let me just get this. One sec there. Just now, hold on. Just here. Give me one sec, folks. Let me just see. Right. Give me one sec. Let me just get this. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Sorry.
Dominic.
Mr. Chance.
Good afternoon, sir.
Greetings.
How are you doing? Good.
I am good.
I understand that you're about to wrap up. First of all, let me make my usual call to all your listeners and callers. Remember, this matter is about voting. And voting, your first past supposed come with numbers. So all the information you get from the anchor, Dominic Romain, and the callers, remember you've got to share it. When I come on this program, I listen, and a lot of the information I get, I don't know everything. I share it with my wife and my family and the grandchildren. That is the basis on which we're going to build the foundation to win the election in 2025. We've got to get public opinion on our side. So immediate family first, and then the extended family after in the first. And I'm urging you as well. This information you're getting is really information to help you make a decision on 2025. And you must use that information to help others make that decision. Let me go quickly on to Dr. Dominic, you spoke about Nikita Pandey moving around and speaking to the young people in different communities, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'm aware she's in Tunapuna. But let me say this. These promises, we've got to look at these promises very, very carefully. Because the opposition understands that there's a lot of overwhelmed situation with respect to crime and a lot of issues swirling all around. So their movement to get to the polls will be making promises. But you as a citizen have to examine those promises and to see whether they make sense. Let me start off today. I'm only going to do 3 or 4 of them very quickly. One, the UNC says in the draft they're going to reopen Petrochin. Well, Brian will tell you, in 2019, the cost of reopening Petrochin was over $7 billion. Asking them, where are they going to get the money to do that? That's the question. As 2019, experts have said it's over $7 billion. The second thing they said, I'm going to deal with them because about a lot of them. The second thing they said, they're going to give higher wages, more than 4%. The same thing is, where the money going to come from? Yeah? Remember, we have what is called a budget. We have a source where we get our revenue from. And the question is about that money. The next thing they say, they are going to build this road, the highway from San Fernando to Mayaro. Where the money going to come from? Where the money is going to come from? And those are the questions you have to ask them all the time. They say these things. They say water for all. How that's going to happen? That's again, Kamala saying water for all. So we have to look very carefully at all those promises. And the question we have got to ask is, where is the money going to come from to do those things? Because you see, the money is coming like magic. The money is not in a hole somewhere where we're picking it. It's not on a tree. We have to earn that money, and we have spoken on several occasions. Dominic, Brian, myself, we have spoken about that. The PNM has a certain plan to get the money come from. And let me just give you the three of them. One is the gas, natural gas, and the sale of petrochemicals. There's a European market waiting for that. And when we explore all the matters pertaining to the gas, we have sales. So we're going to get millions and billions of dollars from that. The PNM has introduced the Revenue Authority. We are losing close to $5 to $10 billion. So if we get $7 billion from that, that is where the money coming from. And the property tax probably earns about $300 million a year. By the way, let me just share this with you. I have been to Lapuna to pay my property tax, and the lines are extremely long. And you know what the people quarreling about? Not about the cost, but how long they have to stay to pay the tax. The same thing, I had somebody looking on in San Grande, and they're saying to me, Mr. Chance, the lines are long, but no quarrel about the money they have to pay. People are shocked. The 3 or 4 people in front of me saying, well, I didn't expect this thing to be so small, boy. You understand? After all that propaganda and mama guy and all kind of things, people are long lines every day in Lapuna. Long lines are monitoring that. I have people in San Grande, my friend, and there are long lines, people paying their property tax because they want to know where their property is. So I thought I would just share this with you all because the information you get here will shape public opinion and convert into votes. So the question is for Kamala, where is the money coming from to do all the things? Imagine she's promising those public servants more money. Remember she told them that she was going to give them 15%. And when the time came, is the PLM have to pay that? She has another thing that I want to share with you quickly. She realized there's something in the DPP's office. She said she's going to give those attorneys more money and incentives and things like that. So there's a lot of wild, reckless promises to fool and mislead you into voting for them. Let me close by reminding you that in 2015, she spoke to us about the pension for senior citizens at 60 years. And when the time came, she said it was a misprint. So you've got to be careful about those promises. They are going to be lifted all across the place. 50,000 jobs, all of that. But the question you have to ask them and ask yourself where the money is coming from. Thank you very kindly for the time, bro.
Thank you, sir. Right, and I too would have seen long lines outside the IR office down on Ajax Street with people lining up to pay their property tax without complaint. But you still have people like Philip Alexander telling people, don't pay your property tax. But when it is the people down in Bayshore are receiving the benefits of paying their property taxes, they would be paying some of the highest rates. He vexed, oh, that is theft, and how the corporation could be using state facilities to pave road in these private communities. Private communities are not exempt from paying taxes, right? And therefore they are entitled to these benefits. But you continue to tell the other folk, yeah, the populace said, don't pay no property tax. This country and this government is only tax, but the proof is in the pudding. And as Mr. Chan said, when Prasad Bisasa is making all of these grandiose promises, how is it going to be paid for when she's saying that she's going to reduce corporation tax from 30 and 35% where it is at now to 18%? So she's going to cut it almost in half. So that is half of the income that the state is benefiting from now. And it's still not enough to be able to give the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Public Utilities, the Ministry of National Security. Every penny that they're collecting now is being used and we still have to borrow. But she coming to tell you we will cut corporation tax in half, and you know what will happen? The business owners will take the money they're saving in tax and they will use it to expand their businesses. Like she could tell them to do that. Right? The same choppiness Donald Trump had said. That didn't happen. Instead, they used the money to buy back stock so that they could keep more of the profits to themselves. But this is the kind of foolish economic policies that they advocating. And people who don't know better, latching onto that, yes, and applauding that. But as I saw one of the commenters here, I think is Donna Seeley, is saying that focus needs to be placed on the youth. Just remember, between 2012, not 2012, sorry, 2020 to now until 2025, is practically every year you have thousands of young people who are turning 18 and who are now eligible to vote. That is a significant voting population, especially when elections are won and lost in some constituencies by as much as 500 votes. You can't take that chance. And therefore, when you have the young people who are taking to social media, which is where the young people are at, and they're spreading misinformation, wrong information, and you have political leaders who are recruiting these young people and have them going out there and saying these things, and they know it to be untrue, there needs to be a proper counteractive policy and strategy to deal with that, to get the truth out, right? We need to utilize, if it is the Heliconia Foundation, utilize the PNM Youth League and get these young persons to be more active on social media. Every constituency has a social media officer. Every party group has a social media officer. Come on, it's time to put them to work to counter this foolishness, because understand, the youth need to know what is there. And right now, the lies, it's working. People's National Movement, National Women's League, 49th Conference, Her Voice, Her Vote, Shaping the Political Landscape. Sunday, 8th of September 2024, which is today at the Arima Central Secondary School, Robert Street, Arima. Dress code is white. Registration from 1 p.m. So registration is going on as we speak. And the conference begins at 2 p.m. and runs to 6 p.m. So if it is that you have the time and you're in the area, or even if you're not in the area, but you're inclined so to do, the PNM's National Women's League is holding their 49th conference this afternoon, where I suppose they will be electing the new executive and the like. As you know, this is an exercise that has been ongoing. The constituencies, various constituencies would have had their conferences over the last couple of months. And so now these different arms are now having their conferences in the lead up to the national convention that is supposed to take place in November, right? So democracy is well and alive in the People's National Movement. All of these things you're seeing here, you're not going to see that in any other party where people political leaders just assigning themselves seats to contest without any screening. Even the political leader of the PNM has to come before a screening committee to be screened, right? In other parties, you don't see them things. So, and I think there is one more in Tobago next week, Sunday, public meeting, Sunday, 15 September 2024, 5 p.m. at the Bell Garden Multipurpose Facility. Come and hear from the political leader of the PNM Tobago Council, Ansel Dennis, and the dynamic lineup of speakers, right? So, Sunday, 15th, 5 p.m., that's next week, Sunday. You don't want to miss that. Elections are in the air. Right, so folks, let me thank you all for joining me. As I said, I have to jump over a little earlier today. Last week, I would have stayed on till almost 3 o'clock, but I have an event to attend, and it can't be helped. So let me just, who is this calling me here? This, I really shouldn't. 29 Super C. So I saw there was someone who goes by the name of James making a bacchanal on YouTube, but he will be dealt with at another time. I don't have the time to deal with him today and all the foolishness that I see posting here, but he's being very disrespectful to Mr. Yates. And you know, when you come for Mr. Yates, you come for all of us, right? We don't play that. You don't come for Mr. Chance and those guys either. Yeah? You're asking for trouble. I don't like to block people, but I'll deal with you and then block you. So folks, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, enjoy the rest of your week. Maybe a productive one. We're supposed to have some rains this week. Well, fingers crossed. Let's see, because the reservoirs need it. Remember to go to your umbrellas. Going on the black carpet. Stay safe, because we will chat again on Tuesday morning, 6:30. Remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.